Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Puck Time. This is the playoff edition. I'm your host, Carmine Bianco of WagerTalk. With me today, the legend Dave Koken, and of course, the two Canadians fans, the only two Canadian fans I think in all of Canada, Don Buster and Andrew McInnes. Dave, I'm going to go to you first. Winner on the Avalanche yesterday, another profitable day for you, and you and I started off the day with a winner in KBO. I followed you along on that one. How you doing, Dave?
Yeah, it's good. I lost the Rockies last night in baseball and had three other plays, one NHL, two MLB. They both won, or they all won. And then got a KBO winner this morning. So it continues to be very good. Focusing strictly on the NHL, 7-3-1 out of the restart. So I'm happy with that. High volume the first couple of days, and now it's trimming down. The numbers have adjusted. We've got a little better idea on these teams, and it's tough. Looking at the card, studying it, and hope to come up with a couple of good ones today.
All right, Buster. Hey, good morning. Rumor has it you drove up from where you are right now to you broke quarantine and drove up and down Prez's street with a Montreal flag honking your horn last night. So you're killing. Listen, you're killing it right now over at Sports Memo. Tell me what's going on, buddy.
Yeah, we're doing really well over there on a nice 15-4-1 run, and truthfully, could have had a 7-0 day yesterday. End up two of those empty netter. I need the empty netter in the Tampa game there, and I pushed the game with Florida on the 5, and again another empty netter. But you know what? You do this long enough, and you'll get those ones to come back. So next time I'm on an under 5.5, maybe they don't get that empty netter either. But again, if I have 5 1-1 days all the time, believe me, I'm a very, very happy guy. So and of course, commenting about Montreal winning, I did my quarantine videos yesterday, and I brought out the Ghost of the Forum T-shirt. I was at the last game at the Montreal Forum in 1996. I'm actually probably, I bet you maybe, I'm not sure how old Andrew is, but he might have been just a twinkle in his father's eye at that time.
I wasn't even on this earth
Buster,
when that was going on.
So he was.
Buster, you were I think you were actually at the first game at the Forum back in like 1918 or something as well too.
Yeah,
if memory serves
I probably was. I probably reincarnated here. So yeah, you never know.
Andrew, before I get to you, hi to the guys in the chat: Richie, Rich, Terry, Elliot. Speaking of which, Elliot, check your WagerTalk account. I gave you a couple of losers yesterday, so I had the girls set you up some wager bucks. We'll give it another go. David Espinoza, Jeremy, Richie Rich, I mentioned, Jay Stone, Mark Lawrence, Joshua, Jared. Welcome, guys. We're going to get to the 3 games on the card today and the 2 placement games. But let me go to Andrew, my man. Prez, seriously, really wanted to be here to discuss that Montreal win with you last night, but he's out getting a massage somewhere. So tell me how it's going, man.
That's not actually where he is it?
Not really sure, but
it's not the same place that Robert Kraft hang out.
No, it's not. It's not. Hopefully
okay.
not.
He wishes it was. No, Carm. Look, I come on the shows every day, whether it's the first pitch or my KBO show with Dave. I was doing that, or now Puck Time, and we go through what happened yesterday, and we review our picks. And yesterday was not a good day for me on the ice. It was actually my first losing day of the NHL so far in the playoffs. So happy to be able to say that, but unfortunately didn't get that over in the Tampa-Boston game I would have liked to. And Prez was asking me, how do you handle these games? How do you handle 5% picks? I'm usually not one to make excuses or look at different things, and I'm not. But that was a hell of a game with a lot of chances. Third period was action-packed. I thought we were going to get there. We didn't get there, so lost that one. But it just seems to me right now that whenever I have a bad day in one thing, I have a good day in the next. It was a 3-0 NBA day for me.
Yeah, and it is. You hate to use that phrase. It is what it is because some people use it and they don't like it.
Phrase. Oh,
but it happens. These days happen. We get back on it. This is one of the reasons why, like something like that promo code that you guys see up on the screen, week 69, is a good one because instead of grabbing like Andrew's 40 $40 5% play, you grab 7-day all access and you get like all of his plays and you have a good day overall. Sometimes these 5% plays, they're not a blue pill, guys. These plays will lose. I got trolled by someone. I think it was last week or the week before. I went 6-1, with 4% winners, and my 5% play lost. So overall, I'm having a great day. But of course, if it's all you picked up was the 5% play, you're like, this guy sucks, for lack of a better word. So again, this is what we do, and we move on and we learn from it. Douglas in I guess that's St. John's, Boston Kappa. Welcome, guys. All right, listen, we're gonna get to the 3 qualifiers first. There's no noon game today, but first up is this Minnesota-Vancouver game. They're tied at 1. Dave, I'm going to go to you first on this, but I think the Canucks looked marginally better in game 1. And while obviously they only had 1 power play goal, it's the Wild that I think undid themselves with taking those penalties. Tell me what you think here.
I still think what I thought before the series started, and we'll see if I'm right or not. I think the Wild are a sneaky good team. And I expected them to win this series, even though I didn't bet it, and even though I haven't bet either of the first 2 games. And you can play that same tune again. I kind of like the Wild here, but I'm not going to bet it. I've decided on just 1 game today, and I will tell you it's the Blues Golden Knights game, and I'll be posting that probably while we're doing this show. As far as this game goes, Vancouver still. They played a much better game in game 2, no question about that. But they still got undisciplined in the 3rd period. Back in the game, there were only 7 seconds left, so they had enough time to get out of there with the win. But the Wild were really coming on in that game, and I think that positive momentum they gained from that, and the fact that they're not in desperate straits, it's 1-1. I think the Wild are going to come in and play a much stronger positional game today, something they got away from in game 2, and also they have to be more disciplined. Every team that's playing should realize by now that the officials are calling this they're actually calling it like exhibition hockey. They're calling everything, which they do in exhibition games and not so much the regular season. But there is zero tolerance basically for anything. And I think the players are starting to realize it, because I'm seeing quite a bit of embellishment that is not being called. And the guy who commits the minimal infraction is getting sent to the box for 2 minutes. So it's all about the special teams. I think Minnesota is disciplined enough to stay away from getting those borderline penalties today, because they know they can't beat this team if they keep making mistakes like that. I think the Wild win, but it's a weak call, and I'm not willing to back it with money.
Yeah, I know, and I agree with the penalties. I've noticed that, and I'm like, just the way it's going right now, you have to sort of look at teams with top 5, top 6 power plays. If you keep giving these guys 7 or 8 power plays a game, eventually it's going to burn you. And I've only noticed only one game so far where an embellishment call where I saw both guys go off. I can't remember what the game was, but it was like a tripping call, and you saw the guy literally with the soccer swan dive, and he got nailed for the 2 points as well. So Andrew,
where we're really seeing it come is on cross-checking. We're getting barely, almost taps in the back. And the guy's falling down like he just got shot. I mean, that to me is bad officiating.
Yeah. I think once you send the message that you're going to nail these guys for that type of embellishment, the same way we're nailing guys for cross-checking, tripping, obviously the too many men on the ice. We've seen quite a few of those too many men on the ice so far during this.
But Dave, I'll say these teams are 2 games into the first 2 games they've played in 4 months. So it might not even be embellishment. It's just not ready to, they're not used to it in 4 months.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's a long time since they played a hockey game.
I'm sorry. Just a 2-handed tap in the back like that is not going to it's not like they forgot how to skate.
Yeah.
Look, I haven't been on skates since I was, 18 years old, and I'll guarantee I could still get out there and skate. The rest of my body might be hurting the next day. But no. So I'm sorry. These guys, they're smart, and they know that whatever is going to get called, and if they feel contact, they go flying. At this point,
Yeah.
it looks like soccer out there. I'm expecting to see a yellow card instead of a 2-minute penalty at some point.
Yeah, I've got the cards ready for the soccer show that comes at 1:00. It'll be me and the three amigos on that show. Nick Borman, Kevin Dolan, and Pavlos Lagoretas of Sports Memo. So tune in at 1:00. I'll be hosting that show as well. Andrew, what's your feel on this game today?
Look, I like the way Vancouver played, and I'm looking at this one right now, and I think that as much as I'd like to back Minnesota based off what we saw, we see here in this the home advantage. Now they are the home team in this series, and we saw that be an advantage for the Montreal Canadiens yesterday with getting the last change. And I think if you do like Minnesota, that does benefit because they're going to get those matchups that they like. They're going to get their tough guys or whoever they want to continuously bother Elias Pettersson and all of those guys that aren't really big enough to handle themselves. However, when I look over the stats in this one, we see the hits were 37-19 in favor of the Wild. But what that also tells me is the Vancouver Canucks dominated possession. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before. The face-off circle, the face-off dot, the percentage was 63% favoring the Vancouver Canucks. That's domination as far as face-off goes. And if you can't win face-offs, you can't control the pace of play, and you can't get in the end. I mean, let's be honest. If we look at the goals scored by the Minnesota Wild, those are what you would call in basketball garbage time points. It's just garbage time goals. To me, that's a 4-0 game. Kevin Fiala puts in 2 to show some respect for his team and a little bit of pride. But if you want to talk about momentum and carrying into the second game, I would say it definitely favors this Vancouver team. And Carm, I think it's a pretty good price, for this Vancouver team off the way that they just played in their previous game. Series is tied 1-1. I look for Vancouver to come out on top here. And, I lean towards the under in this one, though, for this team to kind of, get out there and play physical, protect the puck. To get a lead, be a little more cautious with it and try and protect it.
Yeah, no, I get you on that. And I'm obviously cheering for the Canucks to win this series. I did release them before the playoffs as a 5% play to win the series at -130. So the win tonight goes far to winning this series. It puts them a game and puts Minnesota on the hot seat. Buster, I want to quickly go to you here because I'm looking at whatever that light or thing hovering over your head is, and it looks like you're like literally in the executioner's chair. There, I'm not really sure if that thing lowers down and you start twitching. I'm going to start worrying because. But tell us what you feel on this game.
That's a good point, Carmine. Yeah, I'm not in my man cave because it's upstairs and the internet's not that well, so I have to plug into the main router here, so I have the 30, 40 speed to, so I want to make sure that the show runs well. I'm with Dave and kind of against Andrew today. I did bet this series. I did bet Minnesota in this series, and if you look at it, to me today, the line tells it all. Minnesota's favored. What was in the series? I got Minnesota plus 115 for the series. Minnesota's favored now in this game. How many times? I'll tell you how many times. Never. You see a team when you go into that third game of a series or whatever it may be, that they're the favored when the other team was like Vancouver was what, Carmine, 135, 140, right?
130, 135.
You know what I mean? And now Minnesota is the favorite of this series with 3 games left. That tells me a ton. Also, I kind of disagree. Sorry, Andrew. With I hate like hell to disagree with a great Habs fan.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I disagreed last night with everybody was on Edmonton. I like Chicago. It's just you watch enough hockey and sometimes
and you won.
You see things.
Great winner. Great pick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anyways, I think Minnesota will get momentum from those last goals. Like Dave said, they didn't play well. They didn't play that well. I really believe that they can't have all those power plays. It's the same thing like we talked about yesterday with Montreal. Montreal kept going that, Pittsburgh had 12 power plays in the first 2 games there. You can't have that at all. But I really do believe Minnesota is a play here. And I believe the line showing it. A lot of times when a line shows like that, like I was sheen when I bet it this morning. I was like 115 Minnesota's favorite. That's all right because they're going to win the game. So I'm taking Minnesota. Sorry, Carm. Hate to see her, but I've got the series bet too, and my clients want to win as well.
It's perfectly fine. The game line is essentially showing there's not too much between these two teams. Minus 120 and even money is essentially a coin flip. It's if it steams a little bit, you're at minus 110 either way. I agree with with you guys in that it should be a low scoring game. I'm passing on the game. If I take any bet whatsoever, if I'm going to watch the game, it's probably going to be that first period under again. So that might be where I go on the game, but.
Carmine, if you took that same bet in pretty much every game this playoffs, you'd have several trips back to Italy. So
yeah, well, I'm in the middle of a renovation right now, so like I said, I watched some of the games yesterday. The only thing left in the room that I'm renovating, which is a bedroom, it's flooring's being put on the weekend. The only thing left in there is the TV set. So while I'm painting, I've got the game on so I can listen to it, watch it if something's going on. But that's really the only thing going on there. And same goes today. All right, we're going to head over to obviously the next game up, which is Leafs Blue Jackets. Listen, the Blue Jackets didn't show up. The Torts literally said that after the game. This was all one-way traffic in that game. It looked like a 60-minute power play for the Leafs. But again, with that said, and that 3-0 scoreline, the Leafs struggled to score. The Tavares goal came when Columbus had the puck in the Leafs zone, and it was a bad pass. A guy fell and sent Tavares in all alone. He scores. Empty net goal was the third one. So I'm not too sure that the Leafs they may have dominated the game, but that final score looked a little. I'm going to go to you first on this one, Andrew, but it looked a little better than the game win, I think.
Definitely. I think you, Prez, and I were talking in a group chat about this game, and the fact is, you can play so great, and I've talked about this as well and made this comparison like to soccer, and I know you're a soccer guy, Carm, but you can control possession, you can have all the shots, but if you don't have anything on the scoreboard to show for it, it doesn't matter. And Korpisalo looked amazing when he was on his game, and he still is on his game. He was locking things down. So, I'm not trying to sound like a Leafs hater, Carmine, but I literally think that this should have been a more strong goal performance from the Leafs. I mean, let's be honest, that last goal was late in the game. I think you mentioned that. So the score was actually still extremely low for the possession. I mean, if we talk about actual possession and zone entry time and time spent in the opposing team's end, it was just completely one-way traffic, like you said. So, at the day, though, I believe that, like I mentioned with Edmonton in Game 2, Vancouver Game 2, the Leafs Game 2, teams like that, they get one game under their belt, they still have the speed, and they kind of don't have to worry about that physicality aspect, and they got it done. However, we have to mention Jake Muzzin, he's out. All the best to him. I wish him a speedy recovery. But this is already a shaky blue line for this team, and now they're going to have to be even more stay-at-home defensemen. So tough to say here, Carmine, with the play. I'll pass things over. Yeah. I do have a few prop bets on this one, but I'm going to go with the first period over in this one. This is a play I actually really wanted to take in the Habs game yesterday, but I laid off, unfortunately. It's been hard to come by any overs, more importantly in the first period. But with the pace that we saw starting off the game last time, I really feel like we'll see a really quick pace here in this one. And let's be honest, if you look at the regular season and try and look at the prices for what we'd see with the Toronto Maple Leafs first period overs, it was never a plus 110.
Yeah, no, I agree. And before I throw it to Dave, just welcome a few guys, talk of hockey, Brian Watson, Jaja Alex, Elliot, I mentioned, Wezzy, Repo Man. Guys, thanks for joining us. Yeah, the Muzzin thing is huge. When I was watching that game, and it didn't look at the time like it was any type of a serious injury. And then obviously the longer you saw him out there and the medical staff out there, you knew that this was a lot worse than it was. And then, the first thing I thought is he's got to leave the bubble in order to get to the hospital. Then they talked about how at the Scotiabank Center, and they have medical facilities there and would
Mhm.
likely be able to treat him. But obviously, it became something a lot more serious than what they could do on site, and so he's going to be lost for a while. The one thing that the Leafs did do in game two that they didn't do in game one, and I mentioned on the last show, is those slot shots. They had 20 to 22 slot shots, and they were getting pucks to the net from the right spots. And yet, still, in top of that, they got a lot of them. Like I said, the final two goals came on a breakaway and an empty net. So, I do believe uh, that, the Leafs are the team that should win this series, but we're at a total reset now. It's a 3-game series, and it just depends on how Columbus comes out in this game. Do they play more like they did in game one, where they carry the puck a little bit better? Dave, what do you think?
Look, the Maple Leafs were in dire straits and finally came up with a big win in game two, which is not something the Maple Leafs have been known to do in recent years. Uh, that doesn't mean to me that they've taken control of the series. Even though they were the better team in game two, but it was still in many ways played the way the Blue Jackets prefer to play. And it wasn't really until, when they get down two in the third period, the Blue Jackets have to get away from the way they want to play and take a few more chances. They're not going to win games like that. But I look, Tortorella has done such a phenomenal job with this team, and they seem to respond to his verbal outbursts. And he kept on saying in the post game after game two, we sucked. Everybody sucked. Obviously, he wasn't referring to Corpusalo, who kept him in the game, and otherwise it could have been 5-0. But I think Columbus gets back to actually stays with their fundamentals. And if they do that, they're just better at that type of game than Toronto. And I do think the Muzzin injury, as you guys have already mentioned, I think it's really big because that's the one stay-at-home guy Toronto's got. You always get the impression that Riley, while he's a good player, he's going to at some point get caught being too aggressive in the offensive zone and get pinned, and you'll get an odd man break. And Columbus lives for those because they really don't create much on their own. I lean Blue Jackets here. I think it's a tough game because, if again, there's the one negative on Columbus is they're really not very good if they fall behind. And if they fall behind by 2, they're in real trouble as a rule because they have to completely get away from what they want to do. And that worries me in any game, especially with Anderson coming off a shutout. He's going to feel real good about that. And we know Freddie can be streaky. And when he's in a good groove, man, he can be really tough. I think both goalies, I mean, I look at the game and I want to think that Toronto, if it's a Toronto game, it gets over. If it's a Columbus game, it stays under. But with two goalies playing as well as these two, I don't know. I can't gamble on what offers maybe a little value as far as the over is concerned. It's going to be a stay away from me. I think it could be a really entertaining game. And, I just took up 2 minutes talking about a game where I just don't have a good idea.
No, but you're giving us what your thoughts and your feedback on it, and that this is what matters most.
If I had to play it, I'd take the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, no, and I get it. And to your point, which is extremely true, is the with the injury of Muzzin, we saw Toronto this year struggled when any of their D went down, and they had to rejig those defensive pairings, everything from their penalty kill to their power play. Those are the times where it actually hurt the team. So we'll see how they react to this Muzzin injury. Buster.
I'm along with Dave there. I tell you, with Columbus, when Torts goes off like that, you're going to see the Columbus team that played in game one, not the team that played in game two. And with the goaltending that they're getting, it's hard for Toronto to score. Muzzin being injured now is going to be huge today, I believe. Like I say, if you looked at game one, Columbus actually outplayed them in the second and third period, like pretty much so. I mean, and the way that just the way they play. And after what they threw in a real clunker on, and like we all agree, Toronto just looked dominant. So, you look at that game and go, oh, Toronto's dominant. But yeah, Toronto's a minus 150 today. And to me, the game's basically a coin flip. So if I'm getting plus 130 with a coin flip, I'm taking that all day long. And I know this game's probably going to be tight to the end, might go to overtime. I don't want to be laying 150 with just because they look like the better team. I warned people yesterday. We saw that last night, 170, 180. Everybody's jumping on them. I'll tell you, everybody will be jumping on Toronto here too because what happened the other day. But you got to look. The Muzzin injury is huge. Torts is maybe even huger because I'll tell you, it's unbelievable what he will do to get that team going, and they'll want to play for him. And like Dave said, they respond to that, and I'm looking for that today. I've got Columbus as a nice little underdog.
Yeah, Carmine, if I can, I have goal scoring props for this game.
Give me a second, and I'll throw it to you. I don't think it's a coin flip tonight. I think coming into the series, the Leafs were a better team than Columbus. Right now, the style in which Columbus is playing, they're playing that playoff hockey like they did last season against.
And that's what wins is playoff hockey.
Tough. Obviously, Toronto has the better talent. Whether they can build off of game
Agreed.
2 remains to be seen. Whether Columbus goes back to how they played in game 1. I think it's a little bit better than a coin flip, but I do get your point. So, Andrew, some scoring props.
Yeah, I'm sorry there, Carm. I didn't mean to interrupt you or anything. Mitchell Marner, plus 250. I think Mitch has looked pretty good. You talk about those slot shots. I think he's come very close. He's someone that is always the second guy, or the third guy even really for defenders to worry about. They worry more about Matthews and they worry more about Tavares. And I think Marner's kind of like that sneaky guy. As far as the Columbus Blue Jackets go, Pierre-Luc Dubois, I saw him playing in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. He's unbelievable. He's made a name for himself with this Columbus team, and he's a big body in front of the net. And to both Buster and Dave's point, if this Columbus team is successful, they're going to play Columbus Blue Jackets hockey and score goals in front of the net. And I think Pierre-Luc Dubois will be the guy to do it. So at 2 plus 250 prices there, I think it's a pretty good number. Also, Ilya Mikheyev is plus 300 to get on the board. He's someone that's a little bit of a sleeper as well for the Leafs. All
right. Thank you for those, Andrew. Hopefully you guys jotted those down. All right. Our final caller for today is it's a series I'm completely enjoying. It's literally like the next man up one. I'm going to go to Buster first on this one, but it's Flames Jets. Calgary leads that obviously 2-1 after that 6-2 win in the second of a back-to-back game. And Dave will obviously talk about that later. When he talked about those back-to-backs. Buster, I'm going to go with to you first on this one. What's your take?
Yeah, looks like Calgary's going to have this taken care of tonight. The injuries, I don't know if Winnipeg can stay with them. I know the Calgary did well on the power play the other game, 3 out of 4. So I know their power play goals. So sometimes that kind of distorts things. But I don't have a really good feel on this because I don't want to. I'm not a guy that likes to lay high prices. 150, 160 on Calgary. Does Winnipeg come back like they did that in the game 2 and they, good old team effort? Because I tell you, you don't know what's going on in these bubbles either. And these teams, it's going to be a whole different thing that's going on. They don't have any family there per se. They're their family, the whole team. So some teams are not going to play to their talent either. And some teams might get together a little bit better that, say, okay, we're down and out, let's go. So I don't like to lay that price with Calgary. I think Calgary is going to win the game. I'm looking for Winnipeg to play a good team effort. But for me, if anything on here, I'm going to take the over 5.5. There's been a lot of power plays called. I'll look for Winnipeg to do better than 2-15 on their power play. I think they might get a couple today, and I like it over 5.5.
Yeah, Dave, I'm going to throw it to you next on this one here. And I know the power play is doing, it's not doing that great, but yeah, when you're missing Laine and Sheffley, it's got to hurt a little bit. Dave?
Exactly.
Well, plus they've got other guys banged up. I mean, it's like an infirmary, their clubhouse. Everybody's hurt. And they're playing an awful lot of games in a short amount of time, coming out of a period where they weren't playing any games. So to me, the physicality factor clearly favors Calgary in this game. They've just got a lot more healthy bodies. I mean, about the worst thing they've got is some guy got hit in the face and took some stitches. That's about it. I think the Flames are better anyway. And they've got, to me, what seems almost like an insurmountable physical advantage. I think whatever the Jets have, they're going to have to show early in this game. So, if you want to take a shot at plus money, maybe Winnipeg in the first period. But full game, to me, it looks like the Flames. I don't like laying 160 or thereabouts. I'll check the actual current price because it might have actually. No, it's 160. Seeing some 165.
Yeah, 165, yeah.
I don't want to lay that much. If I were going to do anything in this game, if Winnipeg falls back a couple of goals, they might give up. Yeah. They really might give up. So you want to take a shot on something here. I'd go puck line Calgary plus 160. I think you've got a pretty good, decent chance. If they win the game, they're probably going to win it by more than one goal. So you could go a -1 route where you split half the bet money line, half the bet puck line, or just take a shot with the puck line. The only reason I'm not playing it is there's one game, and I'm not going to say much on that game when we get to it, but there's one game that stands out to me today, and that's the only play I'm going to make myself. But if you're looking for a little action, I might spray a little puck line Flames here.
Yeah, and I know you've done this before and with a lot of success, and I really like that idea of taking both Flames to win the game, or a team to win the game. In this case, the Flames laying, let's say the 165. You take
and the reason
half your bet there and half your bet on the puck line.
The reason I like it more in hockey now, I was never a runs line or puck line guy. I don't like them very much. It's tough enough to get the right side in the game, and then you got to win by a margin. But in hockey, that -1 has actually become a pretty good bet since they put in the new rules with the 3-on-3 overtime and then the shootout. Forget about it, but you can still at least push in the shootout. But these teams are pulling goalies earlier than ever. And in a playoff situation, in an elimination game, if Winnipeg's down 3 goals or 2 goals, they're going to pull the goalie real early. I'm talking 4 or 5 minutes left because it's nothing left to lose. So you got a real good chance for a pull away. That also can influence the over in the game. If it's a tie game, you're screwed. If it's 2-2 or something like that, because nobody will want to take a chance. But if there's a lead, especially if it's even like a 3-1 game late, you could see 2 or 3 goals in the last couple of minutes. So I would be real careful about playing any unders here.
All right, Andrew, thoughts on this game before we move to the placement games?
Yeah, I would agree with Dave. Just the same thing that I would say. Well, I'd agree with him as far as the theory with the puck line goes, because I've been saying that with a lot of the games, and I think that you look back to Carolina when they took care of business against New York. I mean, they're a plus 170 on the puck line. Money line wasn't a good price. Usually, elimination games, if the team that's going to be doing the eliminating wins, they're going to win by more than 1 goal. So that's where I'd look. Great point there by Dave. However, I continue to be the contrarian with this game, and look, the way I look at it is, and I'm not strong on Winnipeg, but I still believe in my series wager on them, and this is why. If you look at the game that they won, Calgary Flames, in their first one, it was 2 of their goals, I believe that was half, were settled on the power play. This time around, they're 3 for 4 in the power play. We could say good for them and take our hats, tip it off to them. But you look 5-on-5 action, I think this is still 50-50, and I think the more deep into this series we get, the more physicality is going to come. And the more goals in the tough areas are going to come, and that benefits the Winnipeg Jets. If we had a skills competition between these two teams, it would benefit the Calgary Flames. They would win by a landslide. The good news is it's not a skills competition. This is a hockey game, and I think Winnipeg still has a lot to play for, even without Scheifele and Laine, and that says a lot about this team. Also, all we talked about was Hellebuck in the preview shows. Everyone talked about how this team. It was really heart and soul was Hellebuck. He actually could have been nominated for a Hart Trophy, and he actually mentioned it. Even being in the discussion for that is quite an honor, especially a goaltender, honestly. So, I like Winnipeg still in this series, and I think the price is pretty good here. However, I will say, as much as I always have the theory, bet the overs and bet puck lines in elimination games, something tells me we might see an under in this game. maybe even take a first period shot with it. I just feel that if we're going to see any heart, anything from this Winnipeg Jets team, even if Calgary wins, it's going to have to be a low-scoring game that the Hellebuck absolutely stands on his head.
Yeah.
So
I
feel.
agree. I agree with that, and that's the problem I have is that Winnipeg's defensemen stink.
Yeah.
They're just no good. That's the weak part of the team.
Yeah.
But Dave, to your point, you're playing, and I'm not even complaining as someone with a serious wager, Dave. But if we were playing with actual like referees that were calling playoff hockey, let's take away 2 or 3 of the power plays we've seen Calgary score on. Where's this series?
But they're not.
But they're not. That's the point. Yeah, Dave's right.
I have to believe.
But I think the later we get into the
here,
series, the less we'll see calls.
We move on to the placement games. The takeaway here really is, if Winnipeg wants to win this game, 2 things have to happen. They've got to come out and win that first period, and Hellebuck has got to play like he did in his midseason form, because, like Dave said, that defense. Is terrible, and if they're down after 1, I don't think they're coming back to win this game.
There's one other thing, and this is the mental part that I don't know if they're capable of. They've got to stop focusing on Kachuk.
Yeah.
Okay. He's forcing them into stupid mistakes. I mean, I understood. I knew there was going to be something after the injury. It wasn't Kachuk's fault, by the way. But the fact is, you knew the Jets were going to respond, but they were still doing it this last game. You can't do that. You've got to just forget about it. He is who he is, and if you keep on giving Calgary penalties because you want to get Kachuk, then that war is being won. That meant won by Calgary. Andrew, that to me might be the biggest problem they've got, is the fact that they can't seem to get Kachuk out of their head. He's gotten under their skin in a big way, and once you're beaten mentally like that, you're going to get beaten physically.
Yeah, Dave, I'm going to go to you first on the placement games here, and because I know you probably don't want to get too much into the second game, but the Flyers Caps.
I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah,
I have the only play I'm making today is on the Golden Knights Blues, so I'm not going to talk about that game.
So I'm going to go to you first on this.
WagerTalk now.
Okay.
Plays have been doing really well across the board. The NHL's been outstanding, and I almost made this a 5% play, which I almost never do. I think I probably play less 5% than anybody at WagerTalk. It's basically because I sell the games the way I bet them myself, and I almost never get out of that consistency bubble for myself. And I didn't do a 5% here, but it's strong as they get as far as my 4% best bets are concerned. So you can get that game at WagerTalk. As far as the game between the Flyers and Capitals is concerned, plenty to talk about on this one. This is a really interesting game because the Flyers and Avalanche look like the 2 teams that are playing the round robin games as if they mean something. I made the comment before these playoffs started, the very first day we did this, that I would not expect to see a lot of intensity in the round robin games because they don't mean much. Media and fans get more interested about seeding than the players do. They don't give a damn. They just want to get to the real games. And we've seen the Bruins clearly not caring. A couple of other teams, and I just, Dallas looked like they couldn't have cared less last night against Colorado. And the flip side of that is these young Flyers. They're a very youthful team. Yeah. They're excited about these games. I mean, they handed the Bruins their lunch. Outplayed them in every aspect of the game, and I would expect that they're going to come out excited again tonight, more excited than the Capitals. So to me, if it's a guess on the intensity, but the guess is that Philadelphia probably plays harder than Washington, or with more focus than we'll see once the actual playoffs begin for those teams. So I would favor the Flyers here.
Yeah, and if they win this game, it sets up the ultimate game, which is the final game of that placement will be Tampa and the Flyers, and the winner takes that number 1 seed, that top seed, and could likely face, if Montreal goes on to beat Pittsburgh, they'll face Montreal in the first round of the playoffs, of the real playoffs.
I think it's fair to say that if there's a team, the 2 teams that want the number 1 seed are the Flyers and the Avalanche. Yeah. That's based on what I've seen from their play so far. They are skating hard, and they want the number 1 seeds. I think the rest of the teams don't care where they're seeded.
Buster, what's your take on this game?
I will almost say everything that Dave just spoke about, except for I believe Tampa Bay also wants that number one seed. So that game when they play that'll be a very good game. I like Philly today too, and they're getting some plus money. So I'm always all about that when I see a game like that. And Philly, like Dave was touching on there, they've been playing great. I actually talked yesterday's show about Colorado, how Sakic was saying, we want that number one seed. Yep. They want that home ice. They want that maybe game 7, that last change. That's, those last changes, Andrew's touched on it a few times, that it could be very important to have that. And I know Colorado really wants it. And I know when their next game, I'll be on Colorado again. Just so there's a play for you right now. But yeah, I like Philly to win tonight and set up a nice game between them and Tampa for number one. And just saying, with Montreal, we haven't won yet, Carmine. So we're not, you're saying Montreal's in the bottom spot. We haven't won yet, but I will be cheering for Philadelphia, because if Montreal can win one more game against Pittsburgh, the mighty Penguins, if we can beat them one more time, I'd rather play Philadelphia all day long.
This is the NHL playoffs. Not the true playoffs yet, but qualifiers and placement games. And listen, anything can happen in these games. They're fun to watch. There's no way you can take away. You can look at those 2 games last night and not say that playoff hockey is boring. Those were 2 fantastic games. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Carmine, I just want to touch
Andrew, because we've got to close up this show pretty soon.
Okay, sorry.
Buster. But Dave talked about the Golden Knights Blues game almost being a 5% for him. That's a reason to head over to his page. Guys, week 69 gets 7 days of all access for $69. You'll get that play. You get his baseballs, his KBOs, any NHL plays. $69. It's a great deal for 7 days. Andrew, before we go to that Golden Knights game, your thoughts on this Philly game today?
I like the Washington Capitals here in this game. Actually, I agree with this Philadelphia team.
That you are
hungry. They great perform, and they had a great performance in game 1, but or in their game 1, I guess I will say, and they have looked strong. They do have youth. However, I've been a real advocate of backing teams in their second game. Especially off a loss. And you look at this Washington Capitals team, the talent that they have. I figured they would take a game to settle in. We saw some of their big guys not being their big guys and not being their best players, but I expect that here in their second game. And you look at the way they lost. They lost in a shootout. And that game was really, really weird in the third period for Washington against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think that they're going to be ready to come out. But to be quite honest with you, this is also a bet against spot for me with Brian Elliott. I would rather bet on Braden Holtby than bet on Brian Elliott. We are not seeing Carter Hart between the pipes. We're seeing Brian Elliott for the Philadelphia Flyers, and I think this is a bet on situation for a team like the Capitals that maybe don't care like in the top 2 or 3 if we're doing a ranking list of teams that give a shit right now. But I think the Washington Capitals will try enough to get out there, and they'll take care of business against Brian Elliott. So I like the Washington Capitals here, and I actually played them in regulation to win this game. And I get into arguments with people all the time. Is it a good idea to do this type of stuff in just the regular season, Carmine, and let alone the playoffs? But you can. I did it yesterday with the Habs, and you go from getting a decent plus price to a great one. I got plus 145 Capitals in regulation.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, so our final game, and I'm going to go to Buster first and then to Andrew, and then we're going to kill this show for today. And thanks for everyone for tuning in. We have a ton of people watching this right now. Really appreciate it. We're like 400 subscribers away from 50K. If we get to 50,000 subscribers, the Prez is going to fly the 2 Montreal fans, Andrew and Buster, to Vegas to celebrate. So let's get us up to 50,000 subscribers, please. Golden Knights Blues, same scenario here. Golden Knights, if they win this game, it sets up a game with the Avs for that number 1 seed. I'm going to throw it to Buster first, the man in the electric chair there with that thing above your head. Your thoughts?
Vegas all day long. St. Louis has not shown up yet. Don't, as Dave was saying about teams that don't care, they really look like they don't care. Colorado should have beat them. I don't know, maybe 5-6-1. They got then they had to get lucky to win 2-1. But yeah, I'm all over Vegas today. The price is right, -115. And what I really like is what Vegas did. They're down 3-1 against Dallas. I love team play at this time of year. Bang. They come in that third period. They don't just lay down. They come back and then they win. Love that. Love Vegas today. They're going to win.
Andrew?
I agree. I like that play quite a bit. I think Vegas is going to have a big game tonight. If anybody out there is a prop better like myself, I'm on the over in shots for this Vegas Golden Knights team at 33.5. Big number here, but I like it at -115. They're going to pepper Jordan Binnington with shots. If he's in nets, I believe he actually is tonight. I'll check right now. Yeah, it's unconfirmed, but I think we will see him in nets. So that's what I'm on. I like Vegas to win the game, but I also like them to just completely pepper Binnington with shots. They're over 33.5 shots. On this, people have been liking the prop bets on Twitter. It seems like responding back, so I'll keep giving them out here on the show.
Awesome, guys. And obviously, Dave has a play on this game, so I won't go to him on this game. But guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching the show. We went a little overtime here. Tomorrow, it's myself, Andrew, Dave Koken, and the Prez back in the hosting chair. Really appreciate you guys watching. Good luck with your wagers, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.